Welcome to this special Roundtable Spotlight brought to you by S24 Television. For millions of Nigerians, the dream of home ownership feels like chasing shadows from Abuja to Lagos, Port Harcourt to Kano. Rent prices are climbing at a record pace. In Abuja today, a modest two-bedroom flat costs between 3.5 and 7 million naira annually. In Maitama or Asokoro, the same space could cost you 9 to 20 million naira. Even satellite towns like Kubwa or Lugbe, once the refuge of middle-income earners, are now rocking 1.5 million for a self-contained room. In Lagos, a one-bedroom apartment averages 1.5 to 3 million naira, while Port Harcourt, though cheaper, is rising fast. Against this backdrop, Nigerians accuse the real estate industry of extortion, while developers say inflation and policy failures are to blame. So where do we draw the line? To discuss this, we are joined by Engineer Abdullahi Hashim, the Chief Executive of Cubicle Vertex Solutions Limited, one of Abuja's leading real estate and construction companies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's begin right in this place. Why are rents climbing so steeply? In Abuja, we've seen self-contained apartment jump from 400,000 to 1.5 million naira in a few years. Is this purely inflation, or are there deeper market distortions at play?
A lot of factors contributed to that. One of the key things is regulation. I think fundamentally the federal government should also put in a genuine effort towards regulating the housing sector in terms of provision, in terms of supplies. Because as it were, a lot of forces have forced people from rural to urban migration, thereby surcharging the population of the urban to a very mega unit. Thereby, the demand and supply of the houses, And I told a lot of people that this issue of demand and supply is not confined to Nigeria. Every community, the demand is higher than the supply in terms of home. So that is why the price in terms of renting and in terms of the building becomes so high, actually. And when there is regulation, it will definitely give a good affordability. I think one of the key problems that we have when it comes to deficit is accessibility and affordability. And when it comes to accessibility, that means it's the role of government to make it accessible in terms of land regulations, in terms of provision, in terms of mortgage, in terms of regulation of the rent, As there are a lot of practices globally that are one of the best practices, like Finland, like Brazil, like maybe Egypt also. They have a very fashionable approach, to curtail this particular housing insecurities. Yeah.
Do you want to take the next one?
Yep. The House of Representatives has proposed measures to curb arbitrary rent increases and advance rent demands here in the FCT. From where you sit, is this kind of regulation necessary, or could it be a roadblock to the industry's growth?
Well, the regulation is necessary and is important, but how about implementation? A lot of policies are there, fashionable, very lovely policies in Nigeria, but their implementation is a deadlock. In fact, some of them are even a foreign copied policies that their implementation is very difficult. Majority of our policy makers, they normally do policies without contextualization, like with the internal realities of what we have in Nigeria. But bringing foreign ideas and intellectuality is not a problem, but stitching them to the local realities is what matters. And that is why we are having what we call implementation gap, whereby people will want to look like Dubai. We call it isometric mimicry. But your energy to become like Dubai is not there in place. So these are the kind of things we have to look at, when it comes to policy formulation and policy creation in Nigeria.
So we're looking at different places around the world that have got things that we'd like to see implemented in Nigeria. We're replicating them, duplicating them in their entirety, but without the necessary connections to put it into the ground here in Nigeria from the reality of what we've got as opposed to what we'd like it to be.
Exactly. If you copy a policy of Finland, we have different languages. we have different economic strength, we have different politics. We have Nigeria. We have how many ethnic groups? We have more than 200 and something ethnic groups.
That's officially.
Officially, but that's officially. But we have in Finland how many ethnic groups? Tell me. Maybe only foreign ethnics that they have, but they have the same language, which is easy to govern. But Nigeria, we have different people, we have different psychologies, we have different religions, we have different. So you can't take that concept and apply it into a very complicating environment like Nigeria. So you need to be super smart for you to govern country like Nigeria.
Yeah, you mentioned implementation as the key roadblock to all of this kind of policies. Well, in Nigeria, when you say you bring a new policy, from the government perspective, maybe it's pen on paper good, but implementation, the Nigerian people might frustrate it. Where do you think we would be able to fix that, to have a kind of synergy when government bring out new policy when it comes to implementation, and the Nigerian populace will be able to cooperate for the implementation process?
One of the factors is the political will. Do you have the political will to implement the policies? At ab initio, that is the initial assessment, actually. And secondly, when there is political will, but do we have the power, to enforce all the political actors to enforce that particular policies? And that is a key. When the head is willing and the players are not willing, you cannot get result. You can't get result at all. So, and these are the kind of things that are going to be, it's a collaborative effort, actually. I think it's a collaborative.
From grassroots top to the top?
To the top. You understand? Or from top to bottom. Whatever it is a two-way thing, actually.
Do you think an inverted pyramid style from top to bottom or bottom up would work really in Nigeria?
I think for Nigeria, it's top to bottom.
Okay.
Because the followership are willing and they're hopeful. And, they have a lot of, there are more of, Nigerian followers are really optimistic that despite the hardship, despite the cornerstone, despite the dribbling of the politicians, they are hoping that things will change. And if you have that resources, then what you need is what? Is the leadership. It's just the leadership. This is from my own point of view, actually. That is the local assessment, realistic assessment.
That's the next question.
Yeah, the next
you can do a follow-up if you
I was going to say that in the UK, just before I left and came on the visit to Nigeria, I was talking to someone about how we would benefit as a country if we were able to take things like education or health that benefit the nation out of politics and make them something that it was there about the delivery. It was more important. It was like a national health thing that we should be looking at the people, we should be taking care of them. Would something like that in Nigeria work, where it was at a federal level that the policies are there, but then it was down to a state level to implement things like housing and education and health? Do you think that would be more beneficial? Because obviously you've got this difference of ethnicities based on a state basis, and then the federal government trying to get people to do things.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant perspective, I think, from the look. Because what I look at is, if you make it independent, like INEC is an independent, like health is an independent body, like education is an independent body. It's a very brilliant concept. But the only thing is that there are social deliverables. Social deliverables demands the effort of the federal government to actually support it. But the place in the federal government is now, that matters now. Are they willing? The willingness. That is why I tie it to political will. Whatever we have, if there is political will, we'll get the result.
So go ahead. Do you propose that, say for instance, like Mr. John mentioned, for Leicester, where you live, the transport system is independent of what goes on in Birmingham or in London or somewhere else? If you go to London, it's transport for London, you can use your Oyster card and other stuff, transport systems like that. Do you suggest that in Nigeria, every state should be independent? They should implement policies that will benefit their people? Do you think?
I think that is the best thing we should do, actually. And then that will going to bring a rapid development and competition.
And you can also be held to account
Exactly.
when it's not been used, if funds are drained away or corruption. It kind of helps with that because it's very local.
Exactly.
It's seen and visible.
Yeah. And another thing is that sustainable urban land use planning is concept that the government should also enforce, because if there is no planning, proper planning, you cannot get any result. And additionally, if you're talking about housing deficit, that means you must have a data. Do you have a data? Do you have any
Reliable
realistic data?
Mm-hmm.
You are using the foreign data, maybe summarized by IMF, CBN, or BBC, or S24, or somewhere. But genuinely, do we really reach out to the locals and identify the real data and collect them as a unit and have realistic mind that yes, we are going to resolve these problems?
But then there is NBS, National Bureau of Statistics. Do you think they're doing enough?
Well, National Bureau, they're trying their best, but it's not enough. It's a collaborative effort.
Do you think the government need more bodies or agencies to do this work, or independent people and take on the course and be bringing the data to the federal government?
The federal government don't need anybody. We have the system. We have the brilliant people on ground. What we need is just the effort and collaboration. Let's say MPC, National Population Commission. Let them meet with MBS if there is need for that, maybe. And if there is need for that, there is need for budget. They will relate with budget. So there will going to be a collaborative synergy between the active players in that particular circumstance. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that we will get resolved using a deliverables. But Nigeria, I think we have a good system, we have a sound system, but implementation is our problem.
It's interesting because that fits very well with the conversation we had about S24 and how that fits with the media sector, which is when you come here and take the time to visit, get to know the professionals and the people that are here. Nigeria has more than enough to be able to tell its own story to the outside world, rather than the mainstream media in the global north looking at Nigeria and going,
exactly, and telling us our stories.
And it sounds like some of these things are being said, these are the statistics, this is what the reality in Nigeria is. And in fact, it's not. By empowering the people here, you'd be able to actually get more of the genuine data that you need in order to make those policies work.
You have 3 children, somebody is telling you from outside you have 5 children.
Or 2.4.
Yeah.
Or 2.4. You understand?
Yeah.
So you have to get it right.
Yeah. So I think we should trickle it down to what Cubecle does. Is Cubecle, or how is Cubecle addressing this affordability crisis in Nigeria? I mean, especially the Federal Capital Territory. Are you exploring rent-to-own or phased payment models that could give ordinary Nigerians a fighting chance at ownership? Because it's all about rent, and the average civil servant or a private employee is not able to even think about owning a land, talk more of buying maybe a building. So are you exploring rent-to-own or phased payment models that could give ordinary Nigerians a fighting chance at ownership?
As a company, actually, we relate with people and individuals that normally want services. So when you relate with anybody that wants services, we can do it at all. It's immaterial of your economy. We can produce, depends on your grade of economy. If you like the high profile, we can provide the high profile. If you need the low profile, we can provide the low profile. If you are in between, we can provide the in between. So we are out for, for opportunities, no matter small, no matter big. We are not limited to big or medium or small. It is not confined to category. So we can provide our services is open for all the economy.
Social stratas.
Yeah, all social stratas.
Okay, you can take the next one.
Yeah. So I think this one fits really well with a sort of a global north perspective, as well as of Africa, as well as Nigeria, is that a lot of projects appear to be targeted at elites, people that have got the wealth, or the people that are already in the middle class. How do you balance that with that profitability with social responsibility? Because again, you can stand on the balcony here at S24 Media House and see people that will never get anywhere near the housing ladder, or being in what we would class as somewhere to raise your children. How are you working towards that? And can a state integrate things like transport access, community facilities or inclusive designs that serve ordinary people long after their construction? You know, is that joined up thinking between this development and that development over there?
Yeah, there should be a coherent processes which will enable lower social strata to access services from the seamlessly, you know. There should be elimination of red tapeism. That is what we call red tapeism, red tape.
Yeah, bureaucratic bottlenecks.
Bottlenecks, actually. And there should be a platform, a genuine platform from the government and clear communication, as you mentioned, because government will start doing program for masses, and the masses are not informed. You get what I mean? Government may be doing a project for pensioners, and the pensioners are not informed. So that should be a very a strong communication, you know, between a project and the beneficiaries, actually.
So does that affect your own profitability if you put in consideration, like you mentioned, that all social stratas will be able to benefit from what you do at Cubicle? Does that affect your profitability in a way?
It may not affect my profitability because we are a dynamic company and innovative. So we use our brain to provide solutions to, that is why we call it Cubicle Vertex solutions. You can bring a very difficult request. We can break it down to its smallest, approach. We deconstruct the problem to its smallest, entry point. Then from there, we just provide solution to that.
So interestingly, some argue that Abuja's rents are even outpacing Lagos. Do you think Abuja can borrow affordability models from Lagos or learn from Port Harcourt, still relatively moderate pricing?
Abuja can also adopt affordability innovative initiative, you know, and if they can do that, they can get it. The issue is that some of them are having this statement that Abuja has no oil. What is the replacement of oil? Is land. So if this notion is still lingering in the brain of people, then the affordability model will want to be normal. You understand what I mean? And the investment concept of other people, where you see a lot of development around the corridor, but not put into use. You understand? But maybe because of so many myriads of factors, maybe corruption, investment, and other people and other concepts like that, people will build a lot of mansions, but nobody is still there. They put it for investment. Some they put it to hide a lot of money. You understand? To keep some money for their own reason, you know. And others they use it for hideouts, you know, and so many reasons actually. So if corruption will going to be eliminated in the process, and the genuine intention to tackle any problem is still there, I think we'll arrive at any problem.
At this point in time, as a Nigerian, do you believe corruption can be eliminated completely or in a certain way?
I believe it can be completed. It
Why?
can be eradicated.
Why? Why do you believe?
Because I'm a human being. I believe in certain things I agree with.
What can be done to eliminate it, if from your own perspective or your lens?
Yeah, well, sincerity. If we are collectively sincere to focus at least on one problem and tackle it, we can replicate it to all other problems.
Okay. Nigeria's housing deficit now stands at 28 million units. With over 80% of Nigerians renting, that's a staggering number. Beyond profits, what role do you see Cubicle, that's your company, playing in reshaping Nigeria's housing future?
Okay, Nigerian housing future is going to be reshaped if there is collaboration between the house developers or the companies that are building houses, as well as with the government. Because they can't play on their own. They are guided by principles, regulations, and guidance. And if there is going to be a concept which the developers, because they are more close to the people who are looking for the houses, so they are the custodian of the data from those people. So they can link up that data with the government so that they can collectively and collaboratively bring out a fashionable regulation which will provide the solutions of the local people.
Yeah, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I mean, one final question from me. We spend a lot of time looking at things that don't work, or we try to find ways why things aren't working, and then we say who can be responsible for making things work better. But taking one step back, how far has Nigeria come, in your perspective, since setting up your company, in actually advancing itself? Let's celebrate how well it's done so far. I know you could be happier with it being better, but are you happy with what you've been able to achieve so far?
Well, achievement is different, you know. Maybe somebody who will achieve maybe, let's say, 100 million may not look at it as achievement. Somebody who will achieve 50,000 may look at it as achievement. Depends on the category of... but collectively, as a community, the design of every stitches of idea and solution you prefer depends contextually on realistic approach to that thing. If we are realistically and genuinely willing to attack no matter what it is and pursue that with maximum tempo, we can arrive at it. We can arrive at it, no matter what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Finally, what is your message to Nigerians struggling with relentless rent increases, and to government actors who hold the power to reform this sector?
Well, my advice is that the government should look at regulations very well, because rural-urban migration also can be regulated, which also increase the volume of urban growth. And then secondly, in terms of the building approaches, you know, the government should also look at it. The urbanization should also link to urban land use planning, you know, so that there are not going to be a chaotic expansion of urban, you know, where people will just build on the on waterways and other stuff like that, and then maybe misplacement of approvals from housing to another purpose, you understand?
From purpose A to B, say
to
for
be
instance,
thereby disenfranchising other people for maximally attaining to what they're looking for.
Thank you so much. This conversation reminds us that housing is more than walls and roofs. It's dignity, stability, and hope. A big thank you to Engineer Abdullahi for coming to this session with us. Yeah. I believe that a lot of people would learn from what you've said so far in the conversation. Yeah, see you around again. Thank you for coming. And this is Spotlight On for S24 Television. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.